Noah and the mole rats pressed deeper into the oppressive passage, their headlamps casting weak, flickering beams into the void. Each sharp breath formed ghostly puffs in the cold air before dissolving into the eerie silence. Then, the sound began. A faint, rhythmic pattern of footsteps echoing softly behind them. At first they dismissed it as their own movements bouncing off the stone walls. But as they stopped, the sound stopped. When they moved again, it resumed. A chilling realization crept over them. They weren't alone. Someone or something was mimicking their movements, playing a sinister game with their nerves. Tension knotted in Noah's stomach as they continued, the air growing colder with each step. The corridor ahead suddenly changed. The rough, jagged walls gave way to deliberate craftsmanship. Suddenly, Noah's foot caught the edge of something cloaked in the darkness. He stumbled forward, his heart lurching as he scrambled to catch himself. Breathing hard, he focused the light on the spot where he tripped. The outline of a staircase emerged from the shadows, carved meticulously into the stone floor. "Halt!" Noah commanded sharply, raising a hand. The team froze, tension crackling in the air. From below, a voice, too calm and polite against the backdrop of their dread, drifted up the staircase. "Please, do continue your descent," it urged, its tone oddly inviting amidst the inky blackness. Noah steadied his headlamp, angling the beam downward as he leaned closer. The narrow beam of light seemed to be swallowed up by the abyss. "Eyes sharp, keep it tight," he whispered. The team exchanged nervous glances, their faces pale in the dim light of their headlamps. As they descended, the tension within the group tightened. Chen hesitated, breaking the silence. "Are we sure this is a good idea?" Noah stopped and turned sharply. "We follow orders," he snapped, his command slicing through the doubt like a knife. Reluctantly, the mole rats continued. Eventually, to everyone's relief, there was a flicker of light just ahead. "That's it, just a bit further," coaxed the polite voice from the shadows. Riley muttered under her breath, "Something's off," but they continued to move forward. Reaching the bottom, they stepped into a vast laboratory. The space was clinical, with stainless steel surfaces gleaming under harsh lighting. Tables lined with bizarre equipment and instruments filled the room. It resembled a setup designed for macabre experiments. In one corner, they saw an unsettling sight, a fusion of SCP-610's flesh-like contagion with human bodies, some half transformed into grotesque hybrids, their expressions frozen in agony. Then, from the darkest corner of the room, a figure slowly emerged. SCP-049, the Plague Doctor. His presence, clad in the dark, ancient garb of a medieval physician, sent a chilling wave through the room. "Greetings. Your Foundation calls me SCP-049, he said calmly, his voice echoing slightly from behind the bird-like beak of his mask. "Please do not be alarmed. I'm here to cure." His hands remained clasped behind his back, his demeanor unsettling yet composed. The Plague Doctor glided past them, his long dark robe trailing behind as he approached a massive vault-like door. As he reached for the heavy handle, the mole rats gripped their weapons a little tighter, aware that SCP-049 intended to lock them in this room. "Don't take another step," Noah growled, aiming his gun squarely at the doctor. "Not to imprison you," SCP-049 began, his voice muffled slightly by his mask, "but to protect us from what hunts you." His dark, glassy eyes landed on Riley, scrutinizing her with a quiet intensity. "SCP-096, I presume," he added, revealing his unsettling awareness of their situation. Without another word, SCP-049 swung the heavy vault door shut. The metallic clang reverberated through the laboratory, making the mole rats jump. They exchanged nervous glances, the air thick with unease. "What are you doing here?" Noah demanded, his voice a mix of command and curiosity. SCP-049 paused, his head tilting as if pondering how much to disclose. "I am here by the Foundation's direction," he finally said, his tone measured. "They have tasked me with exploring potential cures for the afflictions of SCP-610. Before Noah could utter a word, a wild, frantic scratching tore through the silence. followed by the guttural sounds of something slamming against the vault door. SCP-096 had found them. The metal groaned under the relentless assault. "It wants her," Riley murmured, a tremor of fear in her voice as she backed away. SCP-049 stood firmly by the sealed vault door and addressed the group. "I can attempt to save her," he declared, his tone even, "but we must act quickly. This door will only hold briefly." His bird-like gaze settled on Riley, adding urgency to his words. Riley motioned towards the lab's horrific displays. "You want me to end up like those experiments?" "Science is fraught with risks," SCP-049 replied, maintaining his composure. "However, if we do nothing, SCP-096 will surely breach our defenses and endanger us all." The scratching at the door intensified. Noah's eyes met Riley's. "It's your call," he stated quietly. Riley nodded with a heavy sigh. She knew what she had to do. It was the only hope of saving her team. The plague doctor guided her to a large glass cylinder in the center of the room. With a resigned look at her comrades, she stepped inside. SCP-049 sealed the door and activated the mechanism. A clear, thick fluid began to fill the cylinder swiftly, rising towards Riley. Her panicked breaths fogged the glass, her wide eyes darting between the liquid and the others in the room. The cold fluid climbed past her shoulders, creeping up her neck as her chest heaved with mounting terror. The urgency in the room crackled. She was going to drown. Noah, driven by a surge of protectiveness for his squad, lunged forward and yanked the lever down with all his strength. The machinery groaned in protest, the sound slicing through the tense silence, but the liquid stopped just in time, lapping at Riley's chin. She gasped for air, her wide eyes locking onto Noah's as the room seemed to exhale in unison. SCP-049 stared intently at Noah. Suddenly breaking the standoff, he turned on his heel and walked towards the vault door. To everyone's horror, he began to unlock it as SCP-096 violently clawed at the other side. Chen, alarmed, aimed his weapon at SCP-049.
"What are you doing?"
In his chillingly calm manner, SCP-049 responded. "If you will not allow me to try and save her, we might as well let SCP-096 in and end this quickly." His gaze then shifted to Noah. Noah's eyes met Riley's through the glass, her wide, fear-stricken gaze locking onto his. For a moment, he hesitated, but Riley gave him a reluctant nod. Noah took a deep breath and pushed the lever back up, resuming the flow of liquid into the cylinder surrounding Riley. The clear, slimy substance rose rapidly, covering her completely. At first, she floated motionless, her body suspended in eerie calm within the slimy substance. But soon her lungs started to burn and cry out for air. Panic took over. She thrashed violently, her fists pounding against the glass. She mouthed silent, frantic pleas, swallowing more and more of the liquid. Noah and the mole rats looked away as Riley's muffled struggles grew louder. SCP-049 exuded an unsettling calm, stepped forward, and pressed a red button. A gooey substance began injecting into the cylinder. It was SCP-610. Riley's body started to morph grotesquely, becoming one with it. Noah gasped in horror, and Chen, outraged, raised his weapon towards SCP-049.
Why? Why did you do that to her, you psychopath?"
he shouted. SCP-049 formed what looked like a smile under his beak. "Did you notice the silence?" The mole rats turned toward the door. The scratching. It was over. SCP-096 had stopped its assault, as Riley was no longer a viable target. Noah lowered his weapon with a grim realization. He approached SCP-049, scrutinizing him closely. "It was you, wasn't it? You turned the Hammerdown team into zombies!" SCP-049 met Noah's fierce gaze. "Consider," he spoke slowly, "that what might appear as a setback could indeed be a pivotal advance. Much like the experiments with the Hammerdown team, we push boundaries to gain insight, not to inflict harm." As he spoke, Riley's form twisted inside the glass cylinder. Her body had merged with SCP-610. Noah's face darkened as he swiftly drew handcuffs from his belt and approached the plague doctor. But to his shock, SCP-049 voluntarily extended his arms, his long, dark sleeves falling back to reveal his wrists. "You are now obstructing the Foundation's orders," SCP-049 stated, his tone relaxed. By stopping these experiments, you defy those above who seek progress through any means. Noah hesitated, a frown etched across his brow. Could the Foundation really endorse such drastic experiments? Was it possible they sanctioned the spread of SCP-610 in this manner? His mind raced as he considered the implications, the weight of his decisions heavier than ever. Noah snapped the cuffs onto SCP-049's wrists with a decisive click, looping the chain around a sturdy metal rail bolted to the lab wall. He gave the cuffs a firm tug, ensuring they held fast, then inspected the rail. It was solid, built to bear the weight of heavy lab equipment. Noah turned to face his team with a hardened expression. "Open the vault door," he commanded, ready to confront whatever lay beyond. "I would reconsider that action," SCP-049 interjected smoothly. "Opening that door could be premature. There is an alternative route for escape." He gazed toward the high ceiling, where a grid of air ducts was faintly visible. "Those ducts lead to safety. They offer a more discreet exit than confronting what waits outside this vault." The team looked at each other, the same thoughts racing through their minds. Could they trust the directions of a man who had just subjected one of their own to a horrific transformation? The question hung heavily as they weighed their limited options. "He's playing with us," Chen muttered under his breath, his hand instinctively resting on his weapon. Noah watched SCP-049 closely, searching for any sign of deceit. The Plague Doctor remained impassive, his masked face giving nothing away. After a tense moment, Noah made a decision. "We'll check the ducts, but if this is a trap..." He left the threat hanging, his stern look reinforcing the warning. Reluctantly, the team turned their attention to the air ducts, the metallic grates looming ominously above them. No one knew what was up there. There was only one way to find out. With a deep breath, Noah motioned for the team to move out. Now check out SCP-610, The Flesh That Hates, and SCP-610 Tail, Aftermath, for more.